What if I told you that the next 10 years of your entire life are going to be decided tomorrow morning? Sounds a little dramatic, right? But today, we're going to break down how mastering just the very first hour of your day is pretty much the single most powerful thing you can do to get the life you actually want. All right, let's get into it. So, here's the game plan. We'll start by looking at the self-destructive loop that so many of us get trapped in. Then, we'll dig into why your morning is so decisive. After that, I'll give you a concrete action plan. Then, we'll cover how to make it all automatic so you don't even have to think about it. And finally, we'll look at the incredible stakes, what your life could look like in 10 years. Okay, first up, let's talk about the problem. For millions of people, the day is basically over before it even begins. And it's all thanks to this powerful, destructive cycle that kicks in the very second they wake up. This quote, wow, it really just hits the nail on the head. We're talking about a series of what seem like tiny, insignificant choices that just stack up to set you up for failure, for stress, and for underperformance from the moment that alarm goes off. So what does this self-destructive loop actually look like in practice? Well, it all starts the instant you wake up and your hand reaches for that phone. You're immediately hit with a flood of notifications, social media, and your brain just gets zapped into this reactive dopamine-chasing mode. Then what happens next? A sugary breakfast that spikes your blood sugar and sets you up for an inevitable crash. And the result of all that? A day filled with low performance, brain fog, and just stress. So how do you cope with that stress and that rock-bottom energy? You reach for the quick fixes, right? More sugar, junk food, other vices, just to get through the day. And this doesn't just wreck your physical health. It leads to terrible sleep, which all but guarantees you'll wake up drained and ready to repeat the exact same miserable cycle all over again. So why is the morning so incredibly critical? I mean, why is this the battlefield where your entire future is either won or lost? Well, it all comes down to two key resources that you have in massive abundance, but only for a very, very short period of time. That's right. The moment you wake up, you are at your most powerful. It's this unique window of opportunity that, honestly, most people just throw away scrolling on their phones. And once that window closes for the day, it is gone. So what are these two resources? They're your willpower and your testosterone. As you can see here, both are at their absolute peak first thing in the morning, and then they steadily drop off as the day wears on. That high testosterone level fuels your drive, your confidence, and your energy. This makes the morning the perfect, and really the only time, to take on your most important and challenging tasks. Now, the way to think about willpower here is just brilliant. The source material compares it to a stamina gauge in a video game. You wake up, it's full, but every little decision you make, every distraction you give into, it just drains that bar. Trying to be productive late at night when your gauge is blinking on empty, that's like trying to win a fight with a totally exhausted character. It's just not gonna work. Okay, so we've established it. The morning is our peak performance window. So the next logical question is, what's the plan? How do we actually harness that energy instead of just letting it fizzle out? This right here is the big question. You've got 1 hour of peak mental and physical resources. How do you invest that hour to get the biggest possible return on your life? And the answer is actually beautifully simple. You pick one of these 3 high-impact activities. You can go to the gym to build your body, you can work on a side hustle to build your wealth, or you can do some deep learning to build your mind. The key here is to just pick one thing that genuinely moves your life forward. Now, there are some rules to make this hour really count. Rule number 1, and this is totally non-negotiable, no phone for the first 60 minutes. Your phone is designed to hijack your brain's reward system with cheap dopamine hits, and that makes you reactive instead of proactive. Don't let it steal your peak state. Second, commit to just one focus area. Third, apply 100% focused concentration. And finally, the goal here is to get a daily win. When you tackle your hardest task first, you prove to yourself that you are in control. That victory gives you this powerful psychological boost, it increases your confidence, and it can even raise your testosterone levels. That sets a dominant, positive tone for the whole rest of the day. Okay, so doing this for one day, that's great. But real, lasting transformation, that comes from consistency. This next part is all about building a system that makes this whole productive hour automatic, so you literally don't even have to think about it. This is such a critical point. Relying on motivation, trying to try harder, is a losing game because motivation comes and goes. The real goal is to turn this powerful morning routine into an unconscious habit. I mean, just look at the difference here. When you rely on willpower, your actions are exhausting and inconsistent. You only do them when you feel like it. But an automated habit, it's the complete opposite. It's effortless, it's consistent, and it happens automatically no matter what your mood is. And this just perfectly illustrates the end goal. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth, do you? Of course not. You just do it. That is habit automation. The goal is to make going to the gym or working on your business feel as automatic as brushing your teeth. It becomes something you just do. It actually starts the night before. You're basically setting up the environment for success. For dinner, eat a good meal, rich in protein and healthy fats, but low on refined carbs and sugar. This keeps your blood sugar stable and helps you sleep better. Then, prioritize 7 to 8 hours of high-quality sleep. Make your room cool, dark, and quiet. Get rid of all the friction for the morning. Lay out your gym clothes, get your workspace ready. And this is so important. Decide on your one task before you go to bed. This eliminates the need to make a decision in the morning, which saves all of that precious willpower. So, we've covered the what and the how. Now let's talk about the why. This final section is all about the long-term stakes. And believe me, the difference these small daily actions make over a decade is absolutely staggering. It's so important to get this. This isn't just simple addition where 1 + 1 = 2. This is compounding. Your skills, your health, your wealth, they don't just grow. They grow exponentially when you're consistent day in and day out. Just look at these two diverging paths. The path of commitment, it starts slow, but by year 5, you've built valuable skills, significant financial resources, and a really deep sense of self-respect. By year 10, your life is completely transformed. Now compare that to the path of indifference. That just leads to stagnation. By year 5, you're filled with regret watching other people pass you by. And by year 10, you realize your potential has been totally squandered, and the gap between where you are and where you could have been is almost impossible to close. Let's just look at the raw math here. The high performer with an automated morning routine gets in 365 days of focused progress every single year. The inconsistent person, who's just relying on motivation, might manage to be productive for about a third of the year. Over a decade, that's a gap of 2,500 days of progress. 2,500 productive days. The difference is just astronomical. And this quote from the source material just says it all. After a decade, the person who mastered their morning and the person who didn't, they aren't just a little different, they're not even in the same league. They're living in completely different realities with totally different levels of freedom, wealth, and fulfillment. So it all comes down to this. That compounding effect, it starts now. The path you're going to be on for the next 10 years isn't determined by some big, grand decision in the future. It's determined by the very simple choice you make when your alarm goes off tomorrow. So the question is, how are you going to spend that first most important hour?